What's up YouTube? Welcome back to Disney Couples Reshuffled. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Pandragon Dan. Okay, so the last one I came across a little less than enthusiastic about, but I'm going to change that all right now, because this is a competition after all, and I need to win! Thankfully, I've got a much more pleasing team this time round, because I'm looking at one of my favourite Disney characters from one of my favourite Disney films, and a character from what I consider to be the most underrated Disney film of all time. So my reshuffled couple for today is Princess Eilowny from The Black Cauldron and Shang from Mulan. Now before we go any further, here's something I just need to address. Yes, I am fully aware of the age gap between Eilowny and Shang, so for the record, these two cannot have a romantic relationship. I want to make that perfectly clear now so we are under no uncertain terms. But for the purpose of this, I will be looking at what they would be like as a badass team up. Anyway, let's get started. First off, we have Princess Eilowny. And because in the past I've been known for getting Disney names wrong, I want to apologise if I mispronounce her name in advance. So Princess Eilowny was voiced by voice actress Susan Sheridan, who voiced Trillian in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy radio show. Best radio show ever! Now Eilowny actually sets a new record for Disney princesses being captured by villains because she's actually kidnapped in the start of the film. Because why waste time with things like that? The reason she's captured by the Horn King is so that she could use her golden bauble, or golden peladrin, I think it's called. Again, apologies if I mispronounced that. The Horn King believes her magic bauble can help him find the Black Cauldron, hence why she's kidnapped in the first place. But even though she's kidnapped at the beginning, she isn't totally useless. She's very sure of herself, strong-willed, and even gives Taryn a bit of an earful most times. There are times when she comes across as a little bit annoying, but hey, she's 12 years old. You name me a 12-year-old that hasn't been annoying at some point in their life. I can probably name a few, to be perfectly honest. In the film, Eilowny has a golden bauble with her, which appears to be self-aware as it likes rats but's terrified of witches, which hints that she can use magic to some extent. In fact, I don't really think it's explored how powerful she actually is, but for the sake of argument, let's just say that she's pretty important if the Horn King wants to catch her. Now, the Black Cauldron film itself is actually based on the second book in the Chronicles of Pryden series, which is a series of fantasy novels based on Welsh mythology. And in the books, Eilowny plays a major role in it, although her role in the film is slightly different. In the book series, Eilowny is actually a descendant from the Welsh god Lear. This isn't specifically stated in the Disney film, but it might go some way to explain her magical abilities, depending on how closely Disney wanted to stay to the source material, of course. In the book series, she's described as having red hair, but she's a blonde in the film. Possibly because Disney wanted to base her design somewhat on Aurora from Sleeping Beauty, but I can't really say that for certain. But hey, Elsa's the most popular Disney princess and she's blonde, so I guess blondes just have more fun in Disney. Here's something that I think is a little bit of a kicker. Despite the fact that she's actually a princess in the film, she's not considered one of the official Disney princesses. This could be due to the fact that The Black Cauldron was a serious box office failure, although over time it has grown a bit of a cult following. As such, Princess Eilowny is referred to by many fans as the Forgotten Princess. Interestingly enough, if she was considered part of the original lineup, she would be the youngest of all the Disney princesses at age 12. At the moment, that honour lies with Snow White, who you may remember is on Morgan's team, paired up with Flynn Rider. Why? Just why? Why? Anyway, moving on, Eilowny also shows an interest for animals, and she's quite upset when Gurgi ends up getting killed off. Though, to be fair, I was too. Oh, by the way, if you haven't seen The Black Cauldron, I've just spoiled the ending for you. What? The film's been out since the 60s. I can hardly be blamed for that if you haven't seen it. Right then, now let's have a look at a reshuffled partner, which is Shang from one of my favourite Disney films of all time, Mulan. Shang's voice actor was B.D. Wong, who's most famous for the Jurassic Park series as Dr. Henry Wu. And interestingly enough, his singing voice was provided by the legendary Donny Osmond. Even though he is technically the love interest and hero of Mulan, he actually doesn't really start out as either. At the beginning of the film, he's actually little more than a drill sergeant trying to prepare some soldiers for the upcoming war against the Huns. In Mulan, he is the son of legendary war hero General Li, and he is tasked with the job of training some new recruits. And as we know how the story goes, Mulan ends up in his training camp disguised as a man. It's a somewhat controversial decision among some of the characters of Mulan, bear in mind that Li is only quite young, but he is a worthy warrior more than up to the challenge. Li is tough and strict, putting his students through their paces. He's sort of like Gunnery Sergeant Hartman from Full Metal Jacket in that respect, but probably a bit more likeable. And as a running theme in Mulan, he portrays a strong masculine outlook. He also displays some sexist attitudes, much like the other characters in Mulan, but I can't really blame him too much for that, bear in mind he has grown up with a military background. So as such, he believes that being strong is the only way to go. Because of this, when he initially discovers that Mulan is a woman in disguise, he is disgusted by it. But when Mulan proves herself by defeating Shan Yu and the Huns, he gains a lot more respect for her, even falling in love. And despite his strictness, he's by no means a jerk. He does show honour where it's needed. For example, when he discovers that Mulan is a woman posing as a man, he doesn't execute her, knowing that she saved his life and he owes her a debt. At the end of the day though, he's only trying to be strong because he wants to prove to his father he's a capable warrior. And when his father is killed by Shan Yu, again, spoiler, he is shown mourning by his grave, so he's not entirely devoid of emotions, he just prefers to keep them all bottled up and keep a more straight-faced look on things. Which actually kind of makes it the polar opposite of Mulan, because she wears her heart on her sleeve, and she's always willing to show emotion. Li Shang is exceptionally strong and has some amazing fighting skills. During his training sessions, he teaches his recruits to carry some weights, which they struggle doing. He, on the other hand, is not only able to carry his own weights, but additional ones without any problems whatsoever. So that shows how strong he is. In fact, the only one in the film that's able to overpower him is Shan Yu himself. His name in Mandarin is pronounced as Shang, which means to soar. But actually, in the Chinese pronunciation, this would be pronounced as Ong rather than Ang. In fact, General Li himself even pronounces it this way once in the film. Believe it or not, Li was originally going to be portrayed as a dorky sort of guy, yet still being physically fit. This is kind of put across in his mannerisms when talking to Mulan, because he does act very shy around her. I don't know though, I think that would have actually been quite funny to see him as a bit of a dorky character. And there you have it. So now, we ask the question, why would they make a great couple? Again, I want to stress, due to the massive age gap, there can be no romantic relationship between the two of them. However, as far as being a team goes, I think they would be pretty badass. First you have Li Shang with his kick-ass fighting skills, and then you have Eilowny with her magic. So combining the two, they can make a great double act. Admittedly, Li would need to get rid of some of his outdated sexist attitudes, but I think she could also give him an earful on her own as well. So, if they can find some way of working together, I honestly think they could be one of the most underrated fighting teams in the Disney universe. But hey, that's just my opinion. However, if you agree with me, why not pop to the description box below and vote for them in the polls? Their opponents in this instance are Maid Marian for Robin Hood, and the fellow Black Cauldron protagonist, Taran. Oh boy, this is going to be an interesting battle. But anyway, make sure you don't hang around, the votes will be closing in a couple of days. Until then, please like and share this video wherever you can, and be sure to subscribe to our channel Moon Panda Power, which will have more Disney Couples Reshuffled stuff coming up over the month. And that's the end of the video. Until next time, keep on Disneying. Wow, I really need to find myself a better catchphrase.